way to Conference Championship weekend. Before we get there, I'd like to give my thoughts on Josh Allen, on the Bills, the Buffalo fan base, and the like. We have Pro Bowl tight end Kyle Rudolph on the show. Maybe we'll talk a little Kirk Cousins. Maybe we'll talk a little Stafford, DAVANTE Adams. He, of course, played in the NFC North with them many, many years, many, many games, and many bouts. We also have NFL Insider Bleacher Report fave James Palmer, a friend of mine here. He's plugged in with those Broncos. They've got Stidham this week. What does it mean? We'll get to it right now. Thinking about the Bills, everybody. I know they're not even playing this weekend. Let's take. Can we pop up the slate? Sorry to ask for it like this, but here it is. There you go. Patriots at Broncos. Stidham, the quarterback, Stiddy. We'll talk to James Palmer about that. Mile High. I loved seeing friends of FanDuel, friends of the show, Julian Edelman and Gronk talking about the home field advantage, especially in the playoffs of the Broncos, the altitude, the noise, all of that. They got handed a loss there not like 10 years ago. Different vibes, of course, but we'll see what the Patriots can do on the road with Drake May. And then you've got the round three fight between Seahawks and between Hamilton. I have to tell you something. And between the Rams, of course, who just took care of business in Chicago. We had a long conversation about quarterbacks as killers. Like, who's a killer, who's not a killer? Sam Darnold was brought to the table. Is he a killer? We'll see. A lot can be determined this week, of course, as he's welcoming these Rams to town. Stafford is a killer, bona fide. Fourth quarter killer, all of that. I saw a TikTok where Sam Darnold has one of those bird apps where like a bird, he's sitting on like a porch and he's excited to like use the Shazam for bird sounds. And it comes in and he's like, that's a whatever, like blue-tailed whatever, seagull. and he's off the killer list.
He's off?
But on that alone, he's off. Because he could go either way. He kind of looks like a killer because he kind of looks like Dexter, and it reminds me of like he could be a killer.
That's why I wore Dexter's shirt today.
Yeah, they're at 100%. We love that little Henley. But he's not on the killer list because like he has a lot more work to do. He really has to beat the Rams and then some to get off of like you have a bird like a bird sound app.
I feel like that would put him more on the killer list for me, but
that's fair. That is a good argument, and that's why we do what we do here. Okay, so we've got more coaching. We've got a great guest today with great connections to everything going on the slate. You just saw it. Sean McDermott gets let go yesterday. Talked about it a little bit. I've had plenty of coffee and time and a plane ride to think it over. Looking at this Denver game, I couldn't help before we sort of send Josh Allen into the ether in the offseason. Here's what I really think about this game. And we've talked about really as a team for like a really long time from yesterday to today. If Josh Allen is set up to and decides to manage the game in this one, and I hate the definition of game manager, if he's a game manager in that game against the Broncos, they're in the Super Bowl. And I know that there's like a pejorative connotation to that. But what I mean by that is taking what's there, knowing when to put the cape on, knowing when to take it off and let other people ride for you. In this Broncos game, James Cook showed up. He was rolling. Joe Brady scheming guys open. Josh didn't need to be and didn't need to be made to maybe feel like he needs to be Superman to get this win. And by his own admission, pressing and turning the ball over. That is what lost them this game. If he's going to take that step to the next level, which is being in the Super Bowl, winning one, which I cannot believe they're not going to be playing in the Super Bowl. He has to evolve his game and take that step into game manager Patrick Mahomes. Let me explain. That is the level. And what that means is figuring out how to play under control and when to make those decisions to flip that switch. What Patrick has done, and that's the comp. Bills fans, I know what I'm going to get from you about this. I wanted it for Josh. It's insane that Josh isn't going to get it this year. I can't believe it. When you look at Patrick, though, and what he's never really given enough credit for is, I think, like the self-restraint, the discipline, and then the coaching, top to bottom, of somebody saying, don't do this. You don't have to do this, whatever that looks like top to bottom, right? Patrick in the playoffs, it's crazy. Post Tyreek Hill, I want to show you. He has mastered that skill, that restraint. That is what sets Patrick apart. That's why he has 3 Super Bowl rings. If you look at this, Mahomes hasn't been putting up a ton of big playoff stats lately. Just 2 300-yard games in here. But look at his interception rate. He's only thrown an interception on less than 1% of his passes. He knows how to work with what he has and put his team in position and say, like, you guys, I don't need to do it all. I can. I've showed you that. Josh has showed us MVP stat, best player in the business this year, MVP last year. He knows how to, like, choose, and it's not just him, and it's not just Josh, and it wasn't just McDermott. As a group, like, when to do the things you need to do to bring these Lombardis in, and when they're on the line. And yeah, Patrick can still put on that cape here and there, but only when he has to, right? And I think that does take a little bit of self-discipline, maybe planning, maybe, I don't really know, eviscerating this idea. And you saw that when he got to the podium, right? Like, he's like, it was I let them down, and if you're wondering, and I'm going to comp it, if you're wondering, Josh, in that same span that you just saw, that really impressive board, 5 picks, 10 fumbles, with 7 of those coming in the Bills' playoff losses, by the way. This isn't about, like, putting Josh down. We want it for Josh. This is not about what has to happen to get Josh there. The honest observation, and this is where you'd like to see the game level up to for the Bills, so he can go and slay the dragon and bring home the Super Bowl. This is why this next coaching hire is so critical. It needs to be a guy who's going to push him to be more of a game manager, if that makes sense. It sounds a little crazy, but a coach who's going to say, when it comes to playing the position, we're going to be responsible in these big moments. And I don't think that necessarily needs to be this, like, offensive wizard. Like, it could be Cliff Kingsbury. It could be Brian Flores. Who's the guy that can figure out the next stage of Josh, which is what we saw with lesser, maybe dynamic wide receiver 1 talents like Patrick had? Like, that's kind of what I'm looking at for him. Is that crazy? Is that fair? Who could do that? Do we want to put it all on Josh's shoulders? No. Do we want him feeling that way? Do we want him to do that in those moments? I don't know. Buffalo needs a Super Bowl. You need it with him, right? And so, yeah, I think if he manages that game, if it's a game managing moment for him, he beats Denver. And I almost think it might be the only way for him to get past the AFC and finally bring home a Super Bowl in the future. And wishing everybody up there love. I don't know who you're throwing in with. Probably not the Patriots, but they're there in this AFC Championship game. We have to talk about this. Is the worst case, and I do feel for Bills fans. I want to know that, you know, we've had so many great stories, so many great guests come on. I think I said this in a meeting this week. I don't know that I've had guests from a team this season that I have left more like, Hammy, how would you describe it? Like the Shavers, we didn't interview Josh Allen this year, strangely enough. We didn't go up to training camp. We missed it this year. But this year, like, the storylines, the whatever, like, I feel like the Tre'Davious White, so it's like I couldn't be. We haven't even said the name. I can't even say it. Like, it's just awful. But, like, the story, all of it. My favorite guest this year as a group might have been from this Buffalo team. So heartbroken for them. And then I said this back in November when I said they have to win. And I put all the pressure of the world on them. You cannot not only not do it this year because Josh is the best player on the field this year, coming off that MVP, and you're loaded. And every year we talk about how you have the best guy, so you better win the Super Bowl if you have the best guy. It's exactly why they weren't able to cash in. It sucks. And then on top of that, you have the insult to injury, which I forewarned in November. It's going to be the Patriots that go. And you're not only not going, you're going to watch them go, which is...
Yeah. And to your point with those guys, like James Cook, too, the year that he had getting paid and then having the season that he had, and you could tell, like,
yeah,
he's, you know, just all the positive energy from the guy. That's really what every one of those guys we talk to is just filled with so much positive energy. And it's just, you know, we have all those moments with these guys. Like, you do feel for them a little bit. And as a human, you know, seeing that unfold the way it did with the year that they had, that, I feel like a lot of those guys we talked to like didn't get enough credit for the seasons they had to get them to this spot too.
How do you think this take goes over this? You can't really bring up Patrick Mahomes to Josh Allen.
Yeah, it's hard to trigger some people, but you can't. I'm gonna say like you can't. The conversation right now is Josh the best player in the world, and like you can't bring up that conversation about Josh being the best player in the world when there's another quarterback here that has 3 Super Bowl rings and has done those things in those moments that Josh is still working his way towards doing. And I think it's fair if we want to have that conversation. It's a fair conversation to have, and it's not a slight to Josh. Josh is a great quarterback. Josh is a top 2 quarterback. Josh is on a Hall of Fame trajectory. It's not a slight in any way, shape, or form, but that's the standard. The standard is still playing in this league and has 3 rings on his finger.
Clip that. Well said by you. Your thoughts, everybody. And we really we love the Bills. It's like we want it for them. They have the 2 most dominant players in the number 1 pass defense. Yeah, rough. And the Trey stuff I won't even touch. And like hopefully, is there a coach you want? Sorry to put you on the spot, Ham. Is there a coach that you like?
It's tough. I've been thinking about it over these last 24 hours, and it's because there were a lot of good things that Sean McDermott brought to the table. And usually when you fire coaches, like you try to go in a little bit of a different direction. So do you go with another defensive coach like I think of Flores, like in a vacuum, not considering the McDermott part of it, is an interesting choice there for them. Do they go a younger, more offensive mind? Like to your point of accountability, like there are some of these guys that are great young offensive minds coming up, like a Davis Webb. Are they going to be able to, being the same age as the players? Like, is that the person that's going to bring out that accountability?
I don't want to use the wrong word though, right? Because I used it, and you just like Josh was plenty accountable. So we're not saying somebody's that's going to hold him. I think we might be using the wrong word. That's going to get skewed. Let's clarify.
That's a good point.
I think what we mean is somebody who can let him know he doesn't have, just almost like the sports psychology level of it. Like, you don't have to do it all. Patrick has done a really good, Patrick could do it all, put on that cape, but he lets other things speak for him. He'll let other, he doesn't, I don't know how to, you can maybe clarify a little better, but not that we need Josh's feet held to the fire. That's not what we're saying.
Yeah. Because he's the one, you're right. He's the one person that always does take responsibility when things go badly there. And it's more about, encouraging that responsibility and harping on the responsibility. And it's finding that balance between the dynamic playmaker that he is and being responsible at the quarterback position. And because you don't want to take away the playmaking ability, it's just helping him find that balance of when to rein it in and
Is it up to someone else? That would be my question, right? Is it how much credit should Patrick get for that versus and we'll talk to James Palmer about Bieniemy, versus an OC or Andy Reid being
I tend to think it's more on the play because it's more in these moments, you can't. It's the unscripted moments where you really see it, and that's where it's to me, it does come down to the player a little bit more and their choices in those moments. And it's hard it's got to be hard for Josh because we've seen he can make any play, he can do everything. So it's just realizing the moments when you need to, when you're 15 seconds away from going to the half, and it's a long shot to get in the field goal range. That's not the spot. And you can gift the Broncos a field goal on those. That's not the spot to do it. Those moments where you, as a player, you have to be aware of the situations and understand that this isn't the time to push.
Is Drake May going to win MVP? Great analysis by you. Let's move on to these Patriots. Patriot fans watching are what? Are we hello, Bueller, we're here. The defense, all the VRABEL, they're 1 win away from going back to the Super Bowl. And if you think about this for a second with VRABEL, this is his 2nd AFC title game appearance with 2 different teams in the span of 6 years. He might be a better coach than he was as an All-Pro, 3-time Super Bowl champion player. That is my takeaway. Is he a better coach than he ever was a player? Your thoughts. For the defense, they are playing at a level that we have not seen in a postseason in a really long time. Secondary stealing the show. Who told you about Marcus Jones and his pick sixes? I text his girl every time. I've texted her like 90,000 times this season. He did it again. Came on the show. We talked about it. Carlton Davis, 2 picks. Christian Gonzalez, lockdown guy. Pats had 14 PBUs in this one. 14! That's the most we've seen in the playoffs since the 2004 Brian Dawkins talking to the ball Eagles, by the way. And bigger than that, the Patriots, they're allowing 3.4 yards per play so far this postseason. The lowest any team's allowed in the playoffs since, you know what I'm going to say, you know where I'm going, the 2000 Ravens. They're also allowing 9.5 points per game so far. The last 3 teams to do that through their first 2 playoff wins, the 2017 Super Bowl champion Eagles, the 2002 Super Bowl champion Buccaneers, and the 2000 Ravens yet again. So this is special stuff. And for all of the deserved love that we're giving to Denver and Houston and Seattle about their defenses, we are somehow losing the Patriots in that mix. They belong in that conversation, and they're going to show it on Sunday, Saturday. I don't know when that game is. I do want to say before we move on, all of our playoff specials, I want to give us some love. We put out some specials. We politic, okay, here on the show. We say, FanDuel, please do this, and then we get out some signs and some Sharpies, and we have these like pickets, and we're like lobbying, making cases, filibustering at the feet of the overlord, saying, please let us do these specials. And look at this, if you got in on this, we had any wildcard team to make the Super Bowl, that's sitting pretty there at -195. Any NFC West team to win the Super Bowl, +140. We got, listen, somebody's going. Somebody's got a shot, and both 1 seeds to make the Super Bowl, +800. We put these out there. They were custom. They were special. If you got in, I need to see your bet slip. Okay? Show me your bet slip as we take a break here, and welcome Kyle Rudolph on the other side. He's doing some really fun stuff. But show me your bet slips and let me know that you were in on that. Oh, what a nice charmed life a smiley Kyle Rudolph has. Those big mitts. We'll be back after this. Let's talk 13 personnel. I forget that, like, Jake rips for the verts. He rips from, like, whatever feet, you know, the feet is. And I'm just, like, when B-roll comes up, like a full, I'm just, like, I start doing, like, this, and and then it, like, ends up on the internet because, like, I don't think I'm on camera, but I am. Sneaky. Anyhow, sorry, Jake. I'll see something, and I'll literally be, like, I don't even know what I'm doing, like, paying my car insurance. My car's broken, by the way. I broke my car.
Oh, no. What happened?
What's the gauge box? Exactly.
I can't tell you.
I have a gauge box fault.
Are we sure that's a real thing?
Yeah.
You want to get a second opinion
like,
here?
I was up in the Hollywood Hills. I had a lunch. I came back down onto Sunset, which is like flat land. And it was like I was in a go-kart. Like I was pressing, and it just wasn't, there was no power.
Oh, boy.
There was no, I think a transmission-y thing. But then I'm like, I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to keep driving, and what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Gauge box fault. Guess how many miles? Way more. I've really taken a turn. He said 2,600, which isn't.
I would say 10,000.
It's just about 5,000. That's the most I've driven since COVID. The
city of Los Angeles.
5 goes west. I did that. I had a Lewis and Clark expedition. I remember. I took a train to Hoboken, rented a Jeep, put my life in it, and drove to Chicago. 18 hours. Did not stopped once for gas. Didn't I was scared. It was scared to touch anything. It was right in the beginning. What a time.
One of
my weirdest memories from that was that really sitting in this apartment, and there were a lot of weird ones, but before that, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, I just talked about this the other day. The Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady Super Bowl, they're like, you can interview them, and I'm on Zoom in this, with the 2 quarterbacks in the Super Bowl, in a fever dream. I've never had that cool of an opportunity since. That was the coolest opportunity ever. Between the two of them. And it was dirt, and I hadn't seen a human soul for a month or something. It was in a little cave.
It was a wild time.
That's a weird chapter of my life.
See, I'm the legend, I'm the man, I'm the champ. I keep on running with it till I catch a breath. I keep on running till I'm out of breath.
For the touchdown.
Joined now by 12-year NFL vet, two-time Pro Bowl tight end, co-founder of All True, partnering with FanDuel. We love it. NFL's Crucial Catch Initiative. You are an all-time good guy, Kyle. Excited to talk about that, but you are somewhere sunny and smiley, and we're here at Championship Weekend. Rams, Seahawks, Broncos, Pats. When you look at the slate and those two games, what's the first thing you think of?
I think the first thing that for me is Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay. When you look at everyone else in the playoffs, that don't really have the experience that those two guys have. Listening in to some of the show earlier, you guys talking about Josh Allen and a young offensive play calling head coach. And it's like you see what those two have done together. They're the exact same age pretty much. All the success they've had together in LA. So not to bring up a previous part of the show, but I think that could be a great opportunity for Josh in Buffalo.
You know him well. Yeah. You faced him a ton. Davante Adams on that team. Can we look at that throw and the toe tapper? Yeah. I would love to know. And this is something you've seen. I think you faced him more than 10 times, Davante. I don't know how many times Stafford, but if you look at this, and you played for them for years in the North, this tight window reception. Can I see it in overtime? Can you talk me through the level of difficulty on this play?
Well, just the throw to begin with. You're throwing it over the safety that drops down into coverage, and just for Davante to be able to make that catch in frigid temperatures when the ball feels like a rock, because if he doesn't catch it clean, he's not going to be able to get his feet down in time. So, yeah, it's fun watching those guys play together. Obviously played against Matthew for years in the NFC North when he was in Detroit, Davante in Green Bay, and they've been doing it for a long time. So for me this weekend, it's the experience that the Rams have with, those two guys that I think could be a difference.
What's your favorite Davante moment?
You
faced him a lot.
Yeah, man, I felt like I still have nightmares. I'm sitting on the bench. We're battling Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, and it's Davante and Jordy and even back with Greg Jennings, like all those guys. They just had receivers everywhere, and we'd be battling them. You go sit on the bench after a big drive, and next thing you know, you just turn and grab your helmet because Aaron just hit Davante for, a 75-yard touchdown or something like that. So, a ton of big plays from those guys over the years. So now I'm glad I just get to watch. I
was going to say, I shouldn't have said favorite moment. It's just maybe the one that stuck out. I want this for him. I think I'm looking at these four teams, a ring would really go a long way for him. I don't think he needs it for the Hall of Fame, but that he doesn't have one doesn't feel complete to me, and I'm such a fan of him just even as a person. Stafford has one, likely the MVP, and I'm thinking about it from your position watching these Rams. Last time the Rams played the Seahawks, they ran 13 personnel for 61% of their plays. They scored all 4 touchdowns off of it. As a tight end, can you illustrate or sort of illuminate the advantage that gives them against Seattle this weekend?
Well, yeah, and it's interesting. We talked about Sean McVay earlier. Sean is one of the great offensive minds our game has ever had. But you think about a Sean McVay offense and the Sean McVay offense that I played against his early years as the Ram head coach. It's 11 personnel, and it was receivers everywhere. Jared Goff throwing to Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and all those guys. And now when you look at their offense, you talked about 13 personnel, what they're able to do in the run game with 2 really, really good backs. Kyron Williams, Notre Dame guy, so I got to give him a shout out. But when you get in this 13 personnel, you have a guy like Colby Parkinson who, he's 6'8". I think he has 9 touchdowns since the halfway point of the season, something insane. And Matthew loves that big target that they tried to end the game on the fade route to him this past weekend, and you could see his comfort level in the tight ends. But at the same time, you you watch that game in overtime, and I had somebody say it to me, I think it was yesterday, like Matthew just never looks rattled. He never looks nervous. He never looks anxious. He's just so calm, confident in the pocket. And, he's able to kind of fall back on that experience from their previous Super Bowl run.
You're harping on experience more than I feel like anyone has. Like it obviously matters. And then there's the experience of just knowing each other within the matchup and like what advantages lie between those. You're no stranger, my friend, to playing a team in the playoffs that you've already met twice. You played the Packers a third time in the 2012 wild card. Didn't go how you wanted it to. So can you fill in the blank for me? The third, like people say the third time's the charm. In the NFL, the third time's the what?
Well, in this case, it's like when you're a team that has, it's always hard to beat a team 3 times. For us, we split with the Packers that regular season. When you look at this Seahawks-Rams matchup, they split in the regular season as well. So, I think in this, the rubber match, the third time playing one another, again, I just keep leaning on the experience of Sean McVay, the head coach, the play caller, the experience of your quarterback. But at the same time, they're not going down to LA. It's a hostile environment. Obviously, the last time they played up there, incredible close game, went down to the wire, and I expect the same thing this weekend.
2.5-point faves, Seahawks at home. Who wins this one? You said down to the wire.
Yeah, I'm taking the Rams. I'm going with the experience. I'm going with Matthew. It's like you said, it'd be great to see DAVANTE get a chance. Matthew solidify himself. It's like he got the monkey off his back with his first Super Bowl, but you go win another Super Bowl and you put yourself in a completely different echelon of the quarterbacks.
Stidham over in the AFC, he's getting the start. Jarrett Stidham in place of Bo Nix, like heartbreaking, of course. The team may be rallying around him in some way. You've had some experience playing with backup quarterbacks in the playoffs, my friend. What is the most, like I would love for you to take me in, and I want like nuanced, like nitty-gritty stuff that I don't know. Like what needs to happen this week between the pass catchers on the Broncos and Stidham to iron out and get where they need to go? Like what's going on right now?
Well, it's hard at this point in the year. I mean, just think about the point we are in the season, the amount of plays these guys have played, the games, the routes. Like this isn't like it's the week before training camp or, for me, we lost Teddy Bridgewater the last preseason game, and then Sam Bradford got traded to us week 1. Well, we were all fresh, so we could stay after practice and run routes and play catch up with Sam to get our timing down. Like you're not really going to be able to do that as a bunch of Denver pass catchers. You're not be like, all right, Stiddy, we're going to go get an extra 30 reps after practice. So, a lot of times coaches are dialing back just practice reps right now and doing more walkthrough type things. So that way you're fresh for the NFC or AFC championship game on Sunday. And so I think that'll be their biggest challenge is, how many full speed reps can they get this week with the backup quarterback becoming the starter while still being fresh on Sunday against the Patriots.
What was your relationship like with Keenan when he was the backup? I remember like Nate on Good Morning Football being like, I always was around the backup quarterback. I was always like hanging out with Seneca Wallace or whoever, like if you have to go in, give me the ball. Like it was important for Nate to sort of develop that chemistry. Like, did you do that with your backup quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a tight end, you kind of always have that relationship with the quarterback room. It's kind of like, hey, we're always going to be here for you. We're that safety valve. We'll always be reliable. We're usually somewhere around the line of scrimmage. If you need us, just kind of ditch the ball. We'll be there. But for us, like Sam got hurt week 1. So Case started every game except for one after that. And it's like he was our guy. He was the starter throughout that whole year. But, I think, again, I've been on the other side of this too. We lost to the Eagles in 2017 with Nick Foles. Everybody thought Philly's season was over when Carson Wentz got hurt. He played at an MVP level that year. And all of a sudden, Nick came in and had one of the best
Kyle.
3-game stretches.
In prepping for this interview, I didn't even think about that game. I remember it very well. Wow. So he can do this. And it's almost like, should we expect him to do this? Like, I shouldn't be totally wowed if Jarrett Stidham goes and, like, lights this team up. And clearly you're calling for a big Evan Engram game.
Yeah, it's almost not fair to expect that.
Right.
But at the same point, You've got one of the best offensive coaches that, the last 2+ decades. Sean Payton's going to make sure they have a game plan that fits Stiddy, as he called him, well, and allows him to go out and, you run the football, get him in some play action passes. And yeah, Evan Ingram's got to be a big target for the Broncos on Sunday.
Okay, who do you think wins this one?
I'm going with the Patriots. I'm taking both road teams.
Tell me why.
Again, you guys highlighted the Patriots defense playing at just such a high level. I like the Patriots defense. I like the way, Drake May handles himself on offense. Former teammate Stephon Diggs, would love to see him get a chance. So many great teams in Minnesota, so many great teams in Buffalo, and he's never gotten to the big one. And, to see Diggsy play in the Super Bowl would be awesome. So I'm rooting for the Patriots.
I'm trying to come to terms with all my faves leaving the game. Y'all do it in these waves, and then you reel me back in with Tom came back for a little bit, Gronk came back for that year. Then I got to see Phillip for a couple games, and I love that. Harrison is going to be a tough one for me, and I bet you a tough one for you whenever he officially decides to have that happen. Notre Dame, another shout out right there to the Vikings. You guys spent over a decade together. What are your thoughts on Harrison Smith?
Yeah, I mean, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of the best to ever play that position. 14 years, incredibly versatile, and unbelievable in coverage. Come down and make tackles, play in the box, incredible blitzer. Again, I felt like sitting on the bench when our defense was on the field, you were never surprised when the crowd went nuts and it was Harrison making a huge play, an interception, forcing a fumble, just pivotal points in games throughout the course of our career together. And, Harrison can play as long as he wants. If he wants to keep playing, he's still playing at just an incredibly high level. I know he's incredibly vital to that Brian Flores defense, basically what he's allowed to do. The freedom that he gives Flo in terms of calling the defense, you just put him anywhere and he can do it still at year 14. So, I'm not sure if this is it for Harrison, but if it is, it's a Hall of Fame career and one that I was really lucky to be a part of and get to share the field with.
You don't know if he's done? You don't know?
If I were to play the FanDuel betting odds, I would bet that's it for Harrison. But you never know. You just never know because, like I said, he was still
good.
That's the kicker. When we get older and we can't play anymore, like me, then I'm forced to be able to just hang out and raise money for charity and give away once in a lifetime Super Bowl experiences with FanDuel and American Cancer Society. But for Harrison, that's not the case. He's got everything left. He could still do what he did as a Pro Bowl player for over a decade.
Let's talk about what you're doing. All true. You're a legend for this. You're partnering with FanDuel. Welcome. We're teammates now. And you're doing something very cool. It's the NFL's Crucial Catch Initiative, of course, helping fans win an unforgettable Super Bowl experience. What?
Yeah, it's actually pretty wild. The opportunity to, airfare, hotel, fly out to San Francisco, go to the FanDuel party, go to NFL honors, go to the game, just truly once in a lifetime experience. But the thing that I can't really wrap my mind around, and when I was a Walter Payton Man of the Year finalist, we got to be on the field in pregame for a Super Bowl. That's the closest I've ever been to being on a field for a Super Bowl. But in this once in a lifetime experience, you get pregame field passes.
Stop it right now.
You will be on the field in pregame, and there's no energy like it. As an active player, I remember getting jitters watching warm-ups. It was Chiefs Niners in Miami for that Super Bowl in 2020.
Yeah.
So once in a lifetime experience, but the best part about it, it's for an incredible cause. So only one person's going to win this once in a lifetime experience, but ultimately, in order to be entered to win, you're donating to American Cancer Society and their life-saving efforts through the Crucial Catch Initiative. So, we get to raise money for a good cause while ultimately providing the once in a lifetime experience of all once in a lifetime experiences.
Okay, yeah. I'm looking at this right now. It is, and it's incredible work. And I've always and just FanDuel is the number one. They're the leader in the space. And it is amazing to see the leadership sort of push to be also the number one in space and giving back. And that is something that I hold in high regard. I love that you're doing this. It's like a perfect teaming up of this. Drew Brees involved as well. So you donate at least $10. But I want to tell everybody, it's not like what you're saying. Like, obviously, you get to go on the field. That's insane. Nobody gets to do that. It's like one of the most special things. NFL honors, Walter Payton Man of the Year, like that ceremony, the glitz and glamour of that night alone. You also get to go to FanDuel's Super Bowl party, on-field access, tailgates. So Green Day, I believe Adam Duritz and the Counting Crows will be, Goodnight Elizabething throughout the night. So it'll be so fun. I love that that you and your company are doing that. That is incredible. So we'll tell you guys where to find the information. It's all true as you're seeing on the screen.com to enter. A couple more for you. I got to ask you. We got to go back to the Vikings because I would like you to tell me what they should do with the quarterback position in 2026. What should it look like?
I think they have to bring in a veteran quarterback to compete with JJ. I think it's, a big mistake that they made last year, kind of just handing over the reins and not having a veteran to compete with them. There certainly were a few options, one of which is playing this weekend in the NFC Championship game. Another one in Daniel Jones that was in the locker room last year. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of and absolutely love his game. And this doesn't mean that JJ can't be your quarterback of the future, but just, handing him over a Super Bowl caliber roster and saying like, okay, go for it, and not having a veteran that is in that room and competing against him. I ultimately think that you're not setting him up for success. We've seen it so many times with, the Jordan Loves and Aaron Rodgers. We lived it in the NFC North for 2 straight decades because of the way the Packers transitioned their quarterbacks. And, I think the Vikings organization realizes that, they're set up to win right now. And, JJ can still be the guy. And ultimately we can see, another veteran quarterback, maybe, a guy who's trying to find a home, has played good football, but, would be willing to come in on a 1-year deal and compete. I think that's ultimately how you'll get the best out of JJ and set the team up for success in 2026.
Who would be your target? Is it Daniel? That deal is not done. He could Aaron? Tua? Kyler?
I think you've got Mac Jones. I think there's a lot of options in terms of guys who, to me, if I'm looking at that list, Aaron, if he wants to come back and make a run with, an incredibly talented roster in the division that he's very familiar with, I completely agree. I think ultimately Daniel, I'd love to see Daniel stay in Indy long term. It's a shame that the roster got beat up the way it did. Obviously, Daniel had the injury with the broken leg, then the Achilles. So I'd love to see him stay there long term. I think, Mac Jones is an option. Aaron's an option. Bringing somebody in, I think, doesn't really matter who it is. There's plenty of high caliber veteran quarterbacks that could come in, and Kevin always gets the most out of them. There's no better quarterback whisperer than KOC, and I think he would be a great spot if you're a veteran quarterback like a Tua trying to revitalize your career. If he is on the market, wouldn't be a bad place to look.
No-brainer for the Colts to get it done with Daniel Jones. Love that you're saying that. Aaron Rodgers, do what you should have done last year and make that happen. I'm speaking to the Vikings here. Do you think Kirk is a possibility? I talked to him a couple weeks ago, right? And I mentioned, I was like, is there a great clips in Minnesota you want to go visit? And I talked to him. And then Stefanski gets there. I talked to him before Stefanski, and I said, if Stefanski gets there, that has to up his odds of staying in Atlanta, right? They love each other.
That's where I was going to go. It's like, I do think Kirk would be a guy that would make sense back in Minnesota, but I just don't see him getting out of Atlanta. He's under contract there. They were willing to pay him $45 million to be the backup, and now you bring in a head coach and a play caller that he's very familiar with. So I don't see him getting out of Atlanta.
Kyle, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time. We'd love to see where Kirk ends up. I didn't quite hear the end of what you said, but I'll go listen to it on YouTube, where you should subscribe. And please go to All True and donate those $10 that go for a good cause anyway. Then maybe we'll see you at the Super Bowl. Kyle, see you at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Always
the
love-
FanDuel party.
Yes, yes, I always love our run-ins together. You're always the tallest guy, so you're easy to spot. We'll be back after this. James Palmer on the show. We got attaboys. Kyron is one of them. We're giving an attaboy to Notre Dame Kyron after this. What do you say at the end there?
I missed it with the
Oh.
traffic. So.
Let's put that out. I love that. That's all newsworthy stuff he's saying.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think his voice matters a lot to that.
With those,
yeah.
Yeah, we should please get that out.
Yeah.
I would have wanted to follow. Like, well, what does that mean if he stays in? What is that? I don't even understand what that means. They'll release him, bring him back, restructure, and then what does that mean for Penix? I don't understand. Kirk wants to be a starter.
I mean, that's the conversation. They were 5-2 when, down the stretch with Kirk. So, and Penix.
Anyway, we should have kept him in the break.
And there's the injury history with Penix too. That's unfortunate that you have to weigh into all of this too. So a lot of decisions, a lot of tough decisions down there for Stefanski already.
I didn't have to ask a million Rams questions. I should have just gone right to the other stuff. My bad. Cal, can you hear me? Great job. Great job. Tell me. Cam?
What's that? I couldn't hear.
Oh, sorry. Cal's just saying, like, new regime, they could easily just say, I want Kirk. We're ready to go.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Yeah, it's true. There's not, there's
old
more
Penix?
of a push for Penix when you drafted him and, you're trying to make that work with this new, it's a clean slate.
What would Matt Ryan
There's
do?
still,
Gosh.
that's why you bring him in to make these big decisions.
Does he make those decisions? I don't even understand. What's Matt's role here? What's Matt doing? We need Matt on the show. Matt's best friend of the show. What is he doing?
That's exactly what your job is.
So he's like Mark
team
Donovan?
president. Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. He's like doing deals for like new stadiums, like negotiating a $3 hot dog for Arthur Blank. Like, what are we talking about?
They say he's going to have a say in football, ultimately, like everybody's reporting to him.
This is a great offseason deep dive. I don't quite, like, team president feels like it's such a nebulous term. We talked to Mark Donovan about, like, what do you guys do? What do you guys, like, what don't you do? What are the lines? Oh, Mark Donovan no longer the most football-y team president.
There you go.
My next guest, NFL insider for Bleacher Report and 104.3 The Fan. Here he is, my guy James Palmer. Get in here. We don't have a lot of time, so we're going to get right to it. Good to see you in Denver. I mean, what a roller coaster of emotions. Bo Nix, done. Teammates rallying. Stiddy getting the start. You're in that room. You're feeling the heat. What's one thing everyone needs to know about Jarrett Stidham ahead of this weekend?
I want everybody to put this in context, right, Kay? Like, I'm not saying Stidham's the best quarterback on the planet, but I'll say this. When Sean took the job, he made 3 moves on the first day of free agency.
Okay.
He upped the offensive line with Mike McGlinchey and Ben Powers, and he signed Jarrett Stidham on the first day of free agency to a 2-year deal. Like, he likes Jarrett a lot. And I was at every day of training camp this past year, and many times, even with Bo Nix out there and solidified as the starter, he was the best quarterback on the field for stretches. Now, again, he's a backup. I had a GM tell me recently if there were 34 teams in the NFL, he'd possibly be a starter. Like, he's in the conversation as one of the best backups in football. So what I was texted this week was, we're going to have a really good plan for him, and he's not going to lack confidence. With that plan, I would say running the football is probably a big part of it. They're going to change a little bit of what they do because he's not as mobile as Bo Nix. But in terms of the confidence, if you talk to any teammates he's had in Vegas, in New England, in Denver, he will mix it up with the first-team defense when he's running the scout team. And guys love it. He is very competitive. I don't think it'll be too big for him. I would say the X factor, though, in this, to me, is Josh McDaniels. Because he was with Josh in New England, he was with Josh in Vegas. I would assume he's sitting there meeting with Mike VRABEL going, Jarrett hates this. Jarrett loves that. Jarrett hates to face this.
point.
He loves to face that. And so I would
hate
say
that.
Josh might be a big part of how this goes, but I love that Sean Payton is the one designing this for him. But he might be shorthanded. That's the other part. Cortland Sutton's the most reliable weapon. You know, Christian Gonzalez most likely would follow him. He was going to do that with Nico Collins last week if he played.
Just run the ball,
Bryant's
Sean.
mostly out. Yeah, Pat Bryant's mostly out. Troy Franklin, the next two receivers, most likely out. Run the ball. J.K. Dobbins could be back. That would be huge for
Do you
Denver.
know anything? Are you hearing anything about him being back?
I think it's early in the week. They were hoping more like the original thing was like Super Bowl if they made it. So
Okay.
this is 2 weeks ahead of schedule, essentially, with that week in between the championship game and the Super Bowl. But I think it's a little early in the week to see, but they opened it, to my understanding, to see if there's a
I
chance.
struggle with this like Stidham thing because it's like what? Like it's hard to be a quarterback? Like it's like
Yeah.
like it's hard.
He took
Like
no
here
reps.
here comes Stidham and like he's just gonna do like and then I'm like, what does it say about Bo? I don't like something about that. Like as a human, I don't like where. So help me out. Maybe I'll put it like this: like where will Bo be missed the most?
Fourth quarter, you know, got to have it moments. I think Bo has a large enough, honestly, sample size in 2 years that when the game's on the line in the biggest moments, he makes plays. I think he makes those handful of plays that oftentimes we say decide games, Kay. Like, I think that is where Bo really does have the ability to do those things, to make plays with his legs. You know, I talked to Davis Webb recently, and he was like, I think he's the best thrower of the football on the run in the NFL. And I was a roommate in college with Patrick Mahomes. I was in the same room with Josh Allen. Like, that's how good we think he is in terms of his mobility and making throws on the run. So I think that's a big part, and the clutch part is different. And I would say this, there might not be two guys in a quarterback room that are closer in terms of just their personal relationship than Jarrett Stidham and Bo Nix. Like that's how close the two of them are, wives, everything. So it is going to be an interesting dynamic here in Denver over the next week.
I can't wait to see it, and thanks for telling us all of that. You mentioned this Davis Webb character. You've got some ins with him. Why is he, if you were to be like Indeed.com, James Palmer, why is he the guy for Buffalo?
Man, you know what? I put those pieces together pretty early, standing on that Buffalo sideline before the divisional round, Kay, in Denver. And there he is talking to Josh. They have an unbelievable relationship, I'm told, talking to people in the organization. You know, he knows so many people there. And he's a really intriguing candidate in this head coaching cycle. Now, nobody can interview him right now in person because they're in the AFC Championship game and the rules. But I would expect those, if teams are going to wait and their jobs are still open, multiple teams, I'm told, that are going to want to sit down with him. I think the Raiders are part of that group. I would now throw Buffalo into the mix because I do think they want to go offensive side of the ball. And I think making their quarterback happy is a big part of what they want to do. And I'm not sure if Josh would be happier with anybody else. And he checks all the boxes. And just a quick thing, in his interview, right after playing, right, he gets done playing interviews for the Broncos to be their quarterback coach. He blows Sean Payton away to the point to where Sean calls the car that was driving him to the airport and tells them to turn around and come back so he can sign his contract. That's the imprint that Davis Webb had on the Broncos organization in his interview.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's a good little tidbit. You're really doing your thing, Palmer. I love to hear it.
You know, we know each other. Come on, Kay. This is what we were going to get.
I'm trying to say, I'm trying. Listen, we were very crafty about the questions because I knew exactly where I needed to go to get the goods out of you, and it's working out really well so far. I want to ask you about the Chiefs, just because I know you have such good inroads with them and what's going on. So, fans, the pulse of the fan, which I know, they don't seem like that. They want someone new, a new thing. I understand what they're saying. Eric Bieniemy's returning as the OC, and it's like an eye roll. Like y'all won 2 Super Bowls with him. He's going to hold this team accountable, receivers, everyone. What does the Bieniemy return mean?
Well, it's been in the works for a while.
Okay.
I mean, I know Andy called EB after they lost to the Bears, and you know, things got in motion even further. And so this was really the plan that, to my understanding, which was going to happen. And you're right. Have Patrick and EB butted heads at times? Certainly. Do any two people that are very good at what they do, you know, that happen at times? Certainly. Did Eric get probably some of the best moments out of Patrick, including obviously Andy's a big part of it, but over the last several years? Definitely. I mean, I go back and remember when, you know, EB wasn't in the room and wasn't on the staff in that Super Bowl, and I'm talking to all the players at Super Bowl week, and they're like, "Yeah, Eric's back at practice this week." Remember that? Like, Andy just brought him back when he didn't have a job. And so there's always been this relationship in this aspect of how Andy and Eric work together, and how Eric's called 2-minute or end of half and different things that they've done. I just think they went back and go, well, what worked really well during this essentially dynasty? And Andy's still such a big part of the offense. You know what I mean? You're not going to change it entirely because Patrick has such an ownership to it that he brings so much to the table during the week and things he knows within it. He didn't want to change it.
Would it be fair math to say Patrick wanted EB back?
I don't know that for sure. But I would say that Patrick's played really good football under Eric. I would say that.
So maybe he's gone and maybe there is a world where he sort of welcomed the.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we have enough of a track record and evidence that Brett Veach and Andy Reid have included Patrick in everything, whether that's draft picks, whether that's.
I mean, you mentioned his ownership. You said Patrick's ownership of the offense, so that's why I was.
So I would assume no decision is made without his knowledge or his blessing.
Davis Webb is like 30 years old.
Yeah, and he checks kind of two boxes.
He'd be the youngest coach in the
too.
NFL, and that's what you think that Josh needs.
I mean, I think what Josh needs is an offensive mind that's going to stay with him through his 30s. What I think is the Bills lost this opportunity. There was this kind of like, they were loose, Kay, on the sideline pregame, but there was also this kind of like edge, like there's no Patrick, there's no Lamar, there's no Joe. We can beat both teams if we beat Denver. We can get to the Super Bowl. We're running out of time with Josh. I think that number 30 is huge in the NFL. And he turns 30, I think, in May. And I think they looked at it going, how do we get the most out of that? And we want to just kind of focus on the offensive side of the ball. That's a guess. They could go defense, who knows, and get an OC that has a great relationship with Josh. But I think they'd like somebody be implanted with him, as
like
we're just talking about Kansas City.
He's a year older than Josh. A year older.
A BFF, yeah, totally.
He needs a BFF, that's what you think.
Yeah. I think so. They both love golf. I think they like golf. I don't know. Yeah,
I love this for Davis Webb. He's the youngest. We're getting younger and younger. We love to see it. I wanted to ask you very quickly. I talked to TJ Ward yesterday, and he's like,
"Oh my God, boss man."
Yeah, he's like, put in Mills. Like, what's going? Like CJ, he said he has a virus or an infection with these intercepts. Like, he was very candid about it. It was a thing.
Like contagion.
Yeah, but he also said it wasn't like life-ending. Like it's like, but he wanted to see the backup. And is there a quarterback conversation happening in Houston?
I don't think so. I think there was so much new, so much change. You lost Joe Mixon, who was a Pro Bowl running back. You couldn't run the football. Outside of Nico Collins, you changed the rest of the receiver room with a bunch of young guys. You changed the offensive, not just coordinator, the entire philosophy. It was a Shanahan system with Bobby Slowick. A lot's determined pre-snap, and you know where you're going with the football, boop, boop, boop. And CJ wanted more onus at the line of scrimmage. He wanted more on his plate mentally. This is kind of what he asked for. That's what Nick Caley brought. And it was completely different what they were running. I'd let this grow together. There still are enough executives around the league and decision makers, Kay, I've talked to, they're like, he's in the top half of the league. Now, I would say if you go back and watch that game, his confidence was shot in that game. I mean, there were some throws in the second half, and I was texting with some people this morning, like throws were there, and he saw them, and he looked at them, and he went away from him, and he checked down. And so I think that was a confidence aspect, whether it's the weather, whether it's the O-line, whether it's just the turnovers early in the game. I do think he's their guy. But I do think, the contract talk is probably a little bit different. Oof. You're more in the conversation as Bryce is with Carolina. You're getting the 5th year, but what do you do? Right. But I do think he is their guy for sure. And I thought Davis did a great job as we're having this backup quarterback discussion of how important and valuable they are. He got them to the playoffs. He helped get them to the playoffs. But CJ, to my understanding, is their guy.
Do you think the Patriots have a chance?
Oh, yeah.
You think they're going to win?
I mean, you have a backup quarterback that literally has not taken a snap all season, and he has barely, to my understanding, gotten one all year.
He's going to be fine.
No, I just wanted to say, I'm excited to see it because of these things.
It's everyone.
Yeah, these traits and these little nuggets, I know. I'm excited to see Stiddy go out there and play. I talked to him after he got the news, and he was like, "Oh, here we go."
I can't wait.
And so it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting.
That Josh McD thing I had not thought of, and I don't love that for my Broncos.
Yeah, if it was another team, I think it'd actually be a better fit.
Yeah,
to go against.
I don't like that. And stop with this Cortland, just like, that. Be a little more rah-rah Broncos, please. We love you, James Palmer.
My house is that. My wife is a diehard Broncos fan.
We can get you on the Athletic Scoop City podcast on 89 with Steve Smith. Where don't you work, James Palmer?
I sit right here all day long.
Yeah. Gosh, I should go to that game this weekend.
Come on out.
Oh, my God. gosh. All right,
Come
well, maybe
on
we'll
out.
see.
Let's
All
go.
right.
We'll
see you
have you.
soon.
See you on the
If
sideline.
not, then Super Bowl.
All right.
Bye. Time for some attaboys from the divisional, the throwdown round. Here's 3 people who I think deserve a little more love for their performances on Sunday. I'm going to start it off with Marvin Mims. Love him. Attaboy. Now, he hasn't been on the field as much this season because obviously the wide receiver room got some additions, but Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin, like them being, he got an opportunity, did a lot with it. He was really brilliant and fun to watch. Season high 47 snaps, had a career high with 8 grabs, put up 93 yards, the go-ahead touchdown with a minute left, and he beat Trey White. Sorry, last play, that was so crazy. Draws the PI, and the rest is history. Attaboy Mimsy. Stiddy, Mimsy, the whole gang. They'll all be there against the Patriots. We'll see what happens as this goes on, but I like his chances to get some more ops against New England this week at home in Mile High. Okay, next up, Ernest Jones. Oh, what a revelation. Seahawks linebacker. We have gone over and put on the map over and over again his amazing story, dedicating this season to his daddy. He passed away in August. He had sarcoma. And the way that he balled out in the biggest way, it's all I thought about on Saturday night. The early forced fumble that crushed the Niners' chances before they even got going. Seahawks, short field, they jump up, 17-zip. Third quarter pick, puts it away. What a huge part in saying CMC bye. You're only going to have not much success. 5 run stops for Jones. Attaboy! And a third crack at the team that he says gave up on him. This is the perfect story. It's so easy to root for, it hurts. Great, great vibe and lore going into the NFC Championship game. And last but not least, we don't talk about Kyren Williams enough. We're done with this. Interesting to see LA go with what was pretty much a 50-50 split between Kyren and Blake Corum down the stretch, and it worked well. And then the season on the line, who do they trust? Kyren freaking Notre Dame Williams. He had 25 touches, 117 yards, both of the Rams touchdowns. They aren't in this situation without him from the season, and especially this game. You just knew they were going to crush it. And he's had a really big season. He's going to have a major say in what goes on in Seattle on Sunday. So attaboys to Kyren. Who did we miss? Let me know. Who deserves a little more love? You know who does, Hamilton? Caleb Williams for being at the Blackhawks game last night. Just a perfect Chicago boy, stealing the hearts. Did he leave? Did he say, no, I'm going to go back to LA where it's sunny? No, he stayed and he went to the Blackhawks game, pounding the glass, this is a masterclass in PR. Masterclass in PR. Bye.